Hey guys, I'm Aaron, and today we're going to take the detail file, the section file that I made last week, and we're going to bring it into layout and add details to these details. So last week I took this fully framed structure we have right here, and we talked about three different ways to make sections for details. One was a full-on section with the section plane. One was a 2D section we created with geometry intersecting the framed model. And then the third was a 3D section we created with a series of planes. So I'm going to run through that real quick and then we'll bring in the layout and we'll talk about detailing it out. So here's my model. And just to run through, I have this working scene where I have everything visible. Then I have this thing I call the classic section where we just cut straight in, orthogonal, we're looking straight at it, black and white. Everything behind the section is gone because of the fog. Pretty simple. Then we create a 2D section. I created this by just having a plane intersecting it with the model geometry, and that gave me, and it's literally just a flat plane like that. So the third section we did was actually a series of 3 sections that gave us this 3D cut. So great opportunity here for 3D detail, that kind of thing. It's a start of something. Because it is a 3D model, again, I could always move it around once I get into layout. But for right now, this is what my scene looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and we're going to go hop into layout with it. That's going to just take my file. You do have to make sure you save your file. That's the one thing that it still trips me up sometimes when I hit send to layout and it's like, you don't have a file because I didn't save yet. But so make sure you save your file. I'm just going to put this on just a letter landscape. I don't even like the divisions. I usually go down to just like plain paper and just do so letter landscape. That's simple. Okay, so what that's going to do, of course, anytime I send to layout, what that's going to do is just bring in the scene that was active when I saved, which is my working view. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to generate 3 sections. 1, 2, 3 of the 3 different views that I had. So we'll start, I'll come in here and we'll do the classic section. This is just the section through there. There you go, boom, there it is. If I look in here right now, zoom in, see it's a little blurry. With sections, you more likely than not want to go with a vector or a hybrid. Because this is all black and white, I'll just put in vector. Now the problem that you run into by putting on just vector, of course, is there's no fog in vector. So even though I had a fog in there that obscured the back of my model, I don't have that with a standard section, or with a standard section in vector. If I switch it to hybrid, I get the same thing. Hybrid takes the material colors, but it doesn't take into account things like fog. So the only way I really have to make this work out the way I have it with a single section is to do this and bring it in raster. Of course, depending on my settings for output, this might look better on the printed page than it looks zoomed up in here. So this is one of the limitations that you'll see with this kind of section. Is there a way that I could get raster to come in? Yeah, if I'm okay with, if I go turn on vector, so some things I could do right here. I could go grab a rectangle. I could zoom in here real tight and go from, say, about here. Zoom out, zoom back in to about here. And then if I select that rectangle, we'll get rid of the line on the outside, but we'll fill it with all white. Let's turn the stroke off. There we go. So I could fine tune that to kind of wipe out the inside. Now I am still seeing the gable on the other end. So again, depending on how I want to do this, what I could do inside of SketchUp is I could come in and actually turn that piece off. I could go grab that specific piece, turn it off, and then save my section cut scene with that turned off. I didn't do that because I wanted to show you the limitations here, but that is going to be probably the close. I probably wouldn't want to, I guess what I could do, this is theoretical. What one could do, they could grab your pencil and you could force this to disappear. So I could click around like this. I could do this the whole for each of the pieces, then take that and again turn the fill on to fill it in, probably leave the line on but turn it down to like 1 point, and I could do something along, I was just off on a point, see right there. I could spend time doing that. Would I do that? No, I would not do that. I would grab, go back into SketchUp, and I would, if I was really wanting to do this section view, I would probably go back into SketchUp, turn that off, maybe even make a view with two sections facing each other so I get the same slice I had in the 3D section, but I would want to get rid of all this. This is not worth going in manually and going through and editing and taking all this stuff out for this section, especially if I go change something and then I have to go regenerate those pieces blocking, so I wouldn't do that. So there is a place where sections work. If I'm okay with seeing all the way through my model like this, or if I'm okay with a lower quality render type like raster, then this works. This doesn't work, again, like I said, if you are, if it isn't good enough for you. So regardless of the section type, there's a couple things I can do I want to run through right now. One is set a scale. So let's go in here, we're going to say preserve scale, and we're going to set our scale to a standard scale. Let's see, like, will 1/4 inch fit? Yes, 1/4 inch equals a foot. That works perfect. Now, the nice thing is when you set a scale on something, now that this has a scale, I can use the bounding box as a clipping mask. So I can come over here like this, and look what happens. It cuts off just that edge. So I effectively have the same piece I had with my other drawing that I put in there. So there we go. So I could do that. I could take this if I wanted to, put a stroke around it, put a line, and then I could detail out that section. So again, we have a couple of options with the standard section. I could also look at, see, what does it look like if I take that, just that piece right there, and then I turn that to vector or hybrid. Okay, so I get some extra detail. It's not too bad. I get a doorknob that's showing up right there, a couple lines from my gable, but it's not too bad. So that's one of the things you're like, oh, I do have also my footer and my concrete wall on the other side are showing up right here. So it's not a clear, just the footer section. I am getting a bunch of extra lines over here. So a drywall line here. So there's some cleanup you might want to do. Like I said, my suggestion would be in this case would be to do double section, one facing either way. So I just get a slice, or turning off the things in the back. A slice is probably easier. All right, so that was our classic section. Let's keep going. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to make a copy of it right here. And then we're going to go jump up to our 2D section. Remember our 2D section, ooh, look at that. Our 2D section, if I double click in here and zoom out, is this single plane that just intersected over here. The nice thing about this is you can see there is no issue with the background. There's no extra lines showing up. It is just the lines that the plane crossed when I hit intersect. So I got just this information. There's no stuff in the back. That's really nice. I like that a lot. I would have to probably do something similar to what I did over here, where we'd want to maybe make sure scale is preserved, 1/4 inch. All right, so it's because I copied the box, it's the same information. So I'll maybe bring that a little bigger so I can see that. There we go. So you can see that's a lot cleaner. Downside to this one, of course, is that because this is just line work intersected with a face, these aren't connected to anything. If I was to come in here and change my floor joists to floor trusses or something like that, that would drastically alter my profile, this would still look exactly the same. I'd have to go through to re-intersect and get that to change in order to reflect that, have that show up in my section cut. So it's okay. It's not a bad way to do it. If you reach that, what I would call design nirvana, where you know nothing's ever going to change again and you're just moving forward, this works well. It doesn't work well because the active connection, this is still connected to SketchUp, but what it's connected to is this plane with a bunch of lines on it, not the model itself. So I would have to regenerate every time I make a change. All right, let's keep going. We're going to look at a couple things. We're not just importing these, but I'm going to, option copy that over to make a third copy. In this one, we'll go to our 3D section. All right, and let's double click in there, see where's our stuff. Oh, there it is. I didn't have the camera in a very good spot for that one, obviously. All right, so let's get this oriented to the way we want. I'm gonna orient it similar to what we have here, but I want to take advantage of the fact that it's 3D, get it kind of like that. I think that's a pretty good look. And then you'll see if we bring that in, it's going to hold that same 1/4 inch. Because at an angle, we have a little bit extra there. There we go. So it needs to be a little bit bigger because we're at an angle. The overall from here to here is a little bit longer. Something you'll notice too, not all of our material filled in perfectly. So I do have some spots here that were cut the other direction that didn't fill in. So that's a consideration. I might want to export this in all black and white also, or maybe have to go in and fill that in manually, get those extra colors on there. That's up to you. But you can see how it does, where and how it cuts that piece. All right, so now we have these 3 different details in here, and let's look at some of the stuff we can do. Regardless of which one of these I use, I can come in and I can draw over top. I can do this a couple different ways. If I want to put some X's on my end stud, so I see that that's the end cut of a stud, I can always come in with an edge or just a line. Excuse me. I'm talking, oh, you know what? Because this right now is a 0.5 millimeter line, it's too big. So what I'm gonna do is before I draw it, I'm gonna drop it back down to 0.1, and then I'm just gonna put it from here to here. By changing it first, you can see it just a little quicker. I don't have to go click on it and edit it afterwards. So I can just do this real quick. And then one of the things I'd want to do, I'll do the bottom stud too. So any place I have a flat stud facing me like that, and come in here and draw this. My rim board, same thing, I could do this. My sill plate, I could add these additional pieces. Oops. And there we go. All right, so you'd add that additional information, that kind of stuff, just to show where that is. It's not a have to do, it's not a need to do, but it is something you can do if you want. The other thing I'll point out here is because of my section, I am seeing inside, and that's why I'm seeing this back face right now, because rather than cutting it off, I'm seeing the inside of material on the further back where I'm seeing through too much. So that's another good reason to go in and do a section cut or turn pieces off that are past your section view. So regardless of how you do that, you can just go put that in. I did not use a scale drawing box because I don't really care about the scale of these X's I just drew in. I just wanted to put them on there. If I was going to draw something in that was a specific shape or size, I wanted to put a chase through this joist that was exactly a 4-inch hole or something like that, I could put that in with a scale box to draw it perfectly to scale. My argument is always, if I have that kind of detail, why don't I just put it in the model? I would rather spend time modeling and having my SketchUp model be perfect rather than add that sort of detail after the fact. Regardless of whether you put this in with just drawing shapes or you do a scale model, what you'll probably want to do afterwards is grab all of it, right quick, and make that into a new group. That way, if something happens and you move this, it all goes together and I don't lose those pieces. All right, something else I can do, I'm just rolling through a couple ideas here, but I'm going to take this one right here. I'm going to option copy this over so I have 2 of them. I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to take it up to just the top. I just want a truss detail. And maybe this one right here will shrink down to just be a detail on that sill plate. So I can do that real quick and easy and create different details from that one section cut. My point here is I don't necessarily have to have all these different, each one of the, I don't need a separate scene for each of these things. I can pull multiple scenes out of a single section. In fact, I could go a little further if I wanted to. I could do something like this. I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to turn that stroke off. So I have just that. Zoom right in here and draw a quick line from here to here. Grab that, copy that down to here. Ooh, I got a little too big, a little too much. I'm going to scale those down, squash that zigzag a little bit, and then I should be able to grab just one of those, slide it back up, grab this one right here, slide it up, and then what I can do is I can grab a rectangle, put that rectangle around the whole thing, and now I have basically an abbreviated a section cut section. I'm not sure what the exact term is. I don't remember what that term is, but where I have that cut, and these are 0.5, and I could put it in like that. The other thing you could do with these, of course, is things like dimension. Where are things at? And this is nothing special, of course. This is pretty simple. But if I did want to come in, I could grab my section. I'm sorry, section dimension. Wrong word. And I could put, my. Ooh, this is awful teeny compared to how big that is. But I could put those dimensions on there. We need to shrink that way down. I'm going to go into my dimensions presets, and we'll change a couple things here. Generally, when I usually go to like 16th inch, especially with something like this where it's a wood framing detail. All the design I've ever done, we went to a 16th inch accuracy, and everything worked okay. That's as fine as most of the tape measures I have ever worked with had on them. So we'll do that, and then we'll shrink some of this stuff down a little bit. We can probably just make these a little teenier, and then we could probably actually make our font smaller too. So for font, I'm gonna go to Window, Show Fonts, and we're at 10. I'll drop down to like 9 or even an 8. This is a tiny page we're working with. Oops. 8. There we go. Oop, and I broke that when I clicked and moved. A lot of people ask about reconnecting dimensions. You can reconnect a dimension if the thing that the dimension is connected to has changed. In that case, I didn't actually change. Oh, I didn't. I made those changes, and then so let's take these down to like 1-point arrows. Let's take this down to 0.1, and then again, this is before I draw it. So I'm in dimensions right now, and if I make changes to my properties before I draw the first one, then when I draw it, it's going to show up like that. And then of course, sorry, I keep saying of course because I've done this, you guys have seen this, you know how this works. If I double click on here, let's do this top one first. Double click on here, bring this up, put that right there, and grab this one, move that up right there. Maybe what I do in this particular case too is rather than have it go that way, just have it turn sideways like that. That looks pretty good. Anyhow, I'm dimensioning on a very small detail, so I'd probably want to drop that even tinier, probably make this even bigger. One of the other things, of course, we could do when we start talking about putting details in is calling out things. So if I did want to call out, this is a concrete footer, I could do something like that. And we know that. And then up here we got some asphalt roof shingles. I could do that too. And you're noticing, you probably picked this up already, but as I do this, I'm getting an auto prompt for edge length or face area. Those are the only things that are coming up in here because, again, this is not actually a section. This is simply a bunch of lines that came out of the model. If I did want to actually call out materials, and I'm not 100% sure what materials in here are called out, but if I go grab one and put it over here, let's see what it says, group name. So if I hit enter, or if I just click, lumber trim. Well, that's a unimpressive name, but let's see what this guy's called right here. TJI. Ooh, that's nice. So you can see if I have that material, concrete footer. All right. We're on a roll here. There's actually some good names in here. I mean, of course there are. I made it. and I can see that I can actually pull out sections to those names. And that's actually connected too. So if I go back into my model and I change the siding to tin siding or something like that, and I change the name, this will update automatically. So that is a nice option. And it is one of the reasons that it's nice to have more information in your section as opposed to this. So as clean and pretty as this is right here, you can see there's definitely a downside. Information doesn't come across with it. Let's check this real quick. Let's stick one right here, group name. So that also, because it is a section, did work. So what does this mean? What are the best sections you could possibly put on here? Well, personally, I like the look of this 3D section. There's a little cleanup I'd want to do. I want to go back and probably find out why are my colors not showing up in here. Oh, because I have white set as my section fill color. That's why it's all showing up as white. So I may want to just generate this all in white or make sure that my colors are going to come in properly. So I do a little bit more work to fine tune this so it comes in perfect. Obviously, this is not, some jurisdictions aren't going to accept this as a framing detail. So in that case, I would say something like this, where we put a double section, one in front and one behind the line we want to cut. That would be the best way to get a nice, beautiful cut there that's also connected to the model, that is absolutely to scale and will update every time we update the model. So I want to apologize to anybody who's expecting this to show up as a beautiful finished detail, but I had a handful of things I really want to show. My thought originally was I would do one and get it all the way through, but I really wanted to compare the three because that's kind of what we did last time. So there's your 3 different section types showing up in layout, what you can do with them. If you like that video, click like down below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We create a video several times each week, and you'll be notified of all of them if you subscribe. Most importantly, they'll leave us a comment down below. What do you think of this format where we go a little bit longer, a little more detail? Can you think of something specific you would like to see in SketchUp or layout, or the whole community of solutions, the whole environment around SketchUp? If you can't think of anything you'd like to see, let us know down in the comments. We like making these videos a lot. We like them even more when it's showing something you want to see. Thank you.